Getting from A to B, it's something most of us just do, right? We don't even think about it. But for millions and millions of people, that simple act is a massive daily barrier to independence, to dignity. So today, we're going to dive into accessible transport and see how it literally unlocks a world of possibility.
I want to start with a number that kind of puts this whole thing in perspective. 1 billion. That's not a guess, that's what the World Health Organization says. 1 billion people around the world are living with some form of disability.
So for a huge number of them, what's the one thing holding them back? You might be surprised. It's often as simple as not being able to get a ride, a lack of accessible transport. And this isn't just some minor inconvenience. This is what stops people from being a full part of society.
To really get our heads around this, let's zoom out and look at the sheer scale of the challenge. We're going to explore this global accessibility gap and see what the data tells us about these hidden barriers to getting around.
So that 1 billion figure we just talked about, that works out to a staggering 15% of the entire global population. Just let that sink in for a second. That means 1 in every 7 people on this planet has their life directly affected every single day by how our world is designed or not designed for them.
Now, you might be thinking, oh, this is probably an issue in developing countries, right? Well, check this out. Data from the OECD shows that even in high-income, wealthy nations, only about 60% of public transport is actually fully accessible. That leaves a 40% gap. A lot of that's because of old infrastructure that's just insanely expensive to update, leaving millions of people behind, even in the richest corners of the world.
And let's be really, really clear on this point. This isn't just about making things a little easier. The United Nations is emphatic here. Accessible transport isn't a privilege, it's a fundamental human right. It's essential if we want any kind of social inclusion or equal opportunity.
So the global data tells one part of the story, but to really understand the impact, you have to see it on a personal level. Let's talk about one man, Jeff. His story really shows you the true human cost of being stuck.
This was Jeff's world. As a double amputee, his life had just shrunk. All these physical barriers meant he was basically a prisoner in his own home, completely cut off from his community and, well, everything outside his window.
And you can imagine the isolation that creates. His TV wasn't just for entertainment. It was this constant, painful reminder of a world that he could see, but he absolutely could not reach. It became a symbol of his solitude.
But then, things changed. A brand new service designed specifically with people like Jeff in mind, with ramps, lifts, properly trained staff, it came to his area. And that was it. That was the key that finally unlocked his world. And just like that, the world opened back up. I mean, this was so much more than just a ride. This was about getting his choice back, his independence, his agency. It was about the simple possibility of freedom.
And the result? It was nothing short of transformational. Once he was freed from that isolation, Jeff didn't just rejoin society, he became a business owner. He actually achieved a dream he probably thought was impossible, all because he could finally leave his house.
Jeff's story is so powerful, but it really shouldn't be the exception to the rule. So how do we make this the reality for everyone? The answer is in fixing the system. And a huge part of that starts with technology, how we can use it to build services that are safe and that people can actually trust. The key ingredient here is confidence. Digital safeguarding creates this incredible safety net. You've got real-time tracking, which gives families peace of mind. You've got emergency alerts that are a crucial lifeline if anything goes wrong. And things like driver monitoring and digital records, they ensure everyone is accountable, which builds trust in the whole system.
And the impact of all this tech is just massive. It gives a huge boost to user confidence, which is maybe the most important factor in whether someone will even try a service. When you protect users and hold providers accountable, you build this foundation of trust that lets people travel without being afraid.
But, technology is only one piece of the puzzle. The other absolutely crucial piece is policy and design. We have got to start creating systems that are built for everyone right from the beginning, not just as some kind of an afterthought.
This really shows the huge shift in thinking that we need. On the left, you've got the old way, retrofitting. It's basically slapping a ramp onto a staircase. It's a patch. On the right is universal design. This is the approach that pioneers like Japan and Sweden are taking. It means things like low-floor buses and level train platforms, so they're accessible by default for everybody, not just tacked on later.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, it brings us to a call to action, really. Because creating an accessible world isn't someone else's job. It's a responsibility that every single one of us shares.
Ultimately, this all boils down to one simple truth. Mobility isn't a luxury, it's a fundamental human right. And just like we saw with Jeff's story, when you unlock mobility for someone, you unlock their human potential.
So that means every dollar, every policy decision, every single hour we spend on creating inclusive infrastructure, that's not just about buses and trains. It's a direct investment in the kind of fair, equitable, and inclusive society that I think we all want to live in.
We've seen that the solutions are out there. The technology exists, the design principles are proven, and the success stories are undeniable. The path forward is actually pretty clear, so the only real question left is, how can we all work together to speed this up?